Today is Saturday. Between Good Friday and Easter Sunday, there's Saturday, a day that is often missed and forgotten about because nothing really happens, right? It's Jesus in the story is buried still, and we are awaiting for Easter Sunday. But today, thinking about burial makes me ask that question: what do I bury? And let me ask you, what do you bury? People around the world bury different things. Some bury treasures, others bury their past. Some people bury trash to try to forget about it. Other people bury their feelings and their emotions and their pain. Some people bury the dead to kind of forget about it and move on. Others bury trauma and pain. What do you bury? What do I bury? Days like today where we think about the burial of Jesus make me really reconsider in my life, what do I bury? And interestingly enough, I think there's a story that we can relate to. And we're going to go a little bit back in our study of John as we think about burying, about what we bury. And it's in John chapter 11 that we find a story of these two ladies close to Jesus. They seem to be friends of his. And they've lost their brother, Lazarus. Lazarus, probably one of the closest friends of Jesus. At least the story says that Jesus loved him so much. And this man has died, and Jesus wasn't there. He takes a couple days to arrive, and once he finally arrives, the sisters are not happy with him. They go to him and they tell him, Jesus, if you had been here, our brother wouldn't have died. For some reason, these women understand that Jesus has some sort of power and authority, that he could heal or he could do something about the situation, but that death had the final say. That the last little bit of the story was confirmed by death. So the power that Jesus had could only go so long, even though they believed or they understood something about him. So when he gets there and they see him, of course they're angry. He could have done something. I mean, imagine yourself knowing that your friend could have done something about your situation and your friend arrives just a few days late. How would you feel? And I can't imagine how they felt. Lost, betrayed, confused, angry, disappointed. The story continues that Jesus has a conversation with one of them. Conversation I want to focus on. It's a conversation in John chapter 11. I'm going to start reading from verse 21. Martha says to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have not died. But even now, I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. And Jesus says to her, your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. Let me stop right there. Don't you hate it sometimes when people tell you the answer that you already know? That people give you that churchy phrase that everything's gonna be all right, God will take care of it. Or when your heart is broken and people tell you, time heals all wounds, things are gonna be okay. I remember being heartbroken before and hearing those phrases and those statements, and people mean it with well intentions, but in my heart, I was not hearing them with happiness or with understanding. I didn't want time to heal me. I wanted to be healed then. I didn't want God to sort out things in the end. I wanted God to sort things out then. I wanted my heart to be healed and restored, and my situation and my life to be changed. I didn't want to go through the process that everybody says that I should go through because this process will make me a better person. What is that about? I'm in pain and I'm in anguish, and the one person that could have done something about it didn't do anything. So I feel like I can relate to Martha. That I would rather bury those feelings and thoughts and memories away instead of trying to deal with them with this churchy response, with this well-intended but ill-timed statement. And I feel like a little bit of that is what's going on. Jesus is speaking a very powerful statement, but she thinks he's just saying what everybody else is saying. Don't worry, it's gonna be okay. He's gonna resurrect one day. And she's like, yes, I know, I get it. I read the Bible. I know what's gonna happen. I'm thinking about the situation that we're going through here in South Africa and how many people, well-intended, might be saying the right things, and some of us might be feeling that personally the situation is attacking us in levels that people don't understand. It's not just the physical things or the fact that we can't go out and have fun. Some serious damages are being done, and people might lose or have lost their jobs or their status, or they might not be able to go back to school because of all of these things that are happening. So the right answer is not what people need, right? The statement, God is in control. God is going to take care of it. You should just trust God in all of this. We know the answer. If you're watching this video, if you're hearing this, you probably already know the answer. There's nothing new for you here. So you might feel like Martha. Like, God, you're letting me down. You could have done something, and yet you didn't do it. Then Jesus responds to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he dies, he will live. And everyone who believes and lives in me shall never die. Do you believe this? What a question that Jesus is asking. Do you believe not the circumstances that you see and the paradigm that is in front of you, or the right answers that you might know? Do you believe in him? Well, what a question, because it really changes the paradigm. It makes it so much more personal, and it draws the attention to this one moment where Martha has to really consider, does she believe that death doesn't have the final say in the story? Does she believe that Jesus not only could have done something, but that he still can do something? And the story continues, and you find incredible parts. And one of the most amazing parts for me is that when Jesus sees the crowd around him mourning for Lazarus, Mary and Martha crying, and he cries with them. We have a God that is not indifferent to our pain. We have a Jesus and a master, a king that cries when we cry, that hears when we're in pain, and that does something about it. But what he does, it might not be what we want him to do. Because what happens after he cries is that he calls out to move the stone that Lazarus is buried in. And the sisters respond by saying, no, stop that. You can't do that. And at this point of the story, you're wondering, but why don't they want Jesus to do something about it? He just told them that he is the resurrection and the life. Do they believe that he has the power to raise him from the dead? Or did they not understand that maybe that's what he was going to do? Did they still hear it in just the right answer kind of response that, yeah, God's gonna be doing something in the end, but as for me and my situation, I'm just gonna have to suffer through it? I wonder if they didn't want the stone to be rolled and the tomb to be opened because they had buried it and they didn't want to deal with it no more. Jesus, you don't understand, they might have thought. We've buried it. It's in the past. I went through the most and you didn't do anything about it. When he was alive and ill and you could have done something and I needed you to do something, you didn't show up. So how could you dare come and reopen the wound and pain that I've buried already? How do you dare confront something that is not the right time anymore? Maybe in their sadness and pain, they felt the way that sometimes you and I feel, that there's so much in our past that we've buried, so many emotions that we don't want to deal with, so many circumstances that we're just trying to avoid. And instead of dealing with them, we just bury them inside over and over and over again, because dealing with them is too hard. And we cannot go on. And then comes this Jesus who disappointed us from our perspective, and now is opening it up, opening the pain and the wound and the past and the hurt and all the rubbish and things that I wanted to stay dead. And he opens it up and he calls Lazarus. And you know the story. Lazarus comes back to life. And many people believe. And he showed the sign and he claimed his claim and everybody gets it. Great story about how powerful Jesus is. But my question is the question that he asked Martha. Do you believe this? Not that he has the power to raise the dead one day, or he has the power and he's sovereign over all situations, even the situation we're going at right now. Do you believe that Jesus can take our trash and make it a treasure? That he can heal the wounds that we buried down there? That he can take the mess that we've made our lives to be with our choices and what we've trying to forget about, and make it a message, a witness, a testimony, a story that everybody around will look at and believe, wow, this Jesus might be real. I have no idea what you might be going through in this situation. You might be having a great time or you might be having a horrible time. But either way, we all bury something. What do you bury? Do you believe that he will have the power to bring whatever we buried back to life in the way that it should be? Not in the messy way, not in the trashy way, not in the painful way, but in the way that will bring healing, restoration, and power. Today is the day for burial. So think about it. What do you bury? Do you have the guts to let him open it? Because if he does, he might change your life forever.